Welcome, friends and family. Take two. Making sure we're back with our Roundtable Podcast. Again, we'll intro. Right. We have Pastor Luke. Hey. We have Pastor Harold. We have Pastor Eliza here to talk with you guys, have fun, laugh, and share some of our experiences with this week's devotionals. A couple laughs with you guys, joking around, just sharing the love of God with all of you today.
Here we go. We're live.
And we are live, which is great. People hear us.
Yeah. Let us know if you're here.
Yes, let us know if you're here.
A couple minutes.
I'm putting my volume down.
That's right.
Share in the chat that you're here, your name. Just a random question. What is your favorite go-to snack? I know before we said candy. But what's your favorite go-to snack? Let's start there. Pastor Harold.
Oh, this one's easy for me. Cookies. I am a cookie monster.
What kind of cookies?
Well, so I grew up in England.
Okay.
And born and raised. And there's this cookie. And
so you do
just a little bit. Not much.
He's sounding so much better than I'm like, why is that?
I could put my accent on.
You should say the rest of this in a hard accent.
I can't hear you.
Yes, these guys are probably going to tune me out.
No.
So
we will have to listen to you.
No, there's proof. People in America think that a British accent, that person is more intelligent. We just naturally think that person is more intelligent.
You know what? Maybe not this podcast, but maybe the next one. Give me a chance to practice.
I'm really excited.
But
listen, but if you do that, then from now on, anything you do in public, you're going to have to put the accent.
Some of y'all English folks out there may have to help me out a little bit with some of the lingo. But the digestive cookies, we call it biscuits. But it's digestives. It's a dry cookie, and it's, to some people it's blah. But some of the digestives have a chocolate coating on one side, and the rest is it's almost like a shortbread cookie.
Okay.
Oh, so kind of like a Milano, like a Pepperidge Farm Milano.
Very close to a Milano.
Okay.
A higher class one.
Really
fancy.
That's right.
Yes.
And you hold it like this.
Yes. And by the way, when you have it, you must have it with a spot of tea.
Oh, what's that? What did you? Wow.
Can't go wrong with digestive.
Idris Elba, everybody. Idris Elba in the house. Love it. Pastor Luke.
I've got some friends back on the West Coast who did a podcast, and they had a bunch of cookies brought over from England, and they just went through and they explained them and they tried them. And they tried to describe them and bring it back to the closest American version. Yeah. It sounded delicious.
Yeah.
Save that for the day. I have never met a snack I don't like, to paraphrase Bill Reimers. That's although I would probably go for a cookie overall. I would maybe a Reese's peanut butter cup, but cookie is it's flawless, like a chocolate chip, like just a traditional staple.
Sure.
It doesn't get any better than that.
Best.
So first, my problem is that I turn a cookie or I turn a snack into a full meal. So I don't know what a snack really is. So, for instance, you guys like Chips Ahoy?
Love Chips Ahoy.
Right? It'd be great if you could have 3 of them, right?
Sure.
I end up having 3 sleeves of this.
But you can't have just one.
That's right. Those are Lay's. But honestly, snacking. So snacking is not really my thing. Like I said, I turn it into a meal. But if I had to choose one snack to go with, I'm gonna go with beef jerky.
Ooh, good beef jerky.
I'm gonna go with beef jerky.
Flavor?
So there's this one brand, and I'm forgetting the name now, but they make really good just crazy flavors, and one of them is like a teriyaki lime or something like that.
Okay.
I think the name of the brand is
cheese.
Yes.
So those are all really, really good ones. So for me, I have two. Okay. One is more of a phenomenal, and then if you go to BJ's or Sam's, they give you the big giant ones. Amazing. Okay.
That's great.
Next. Right, this is a Hispanic thing, but everyone loves it. All right, you can go to Puerto Rico, or even some people in Harvard do this as well. But you can go and you out of their house, you say limbe,
Oh my
limbe,
gosh.
Oh, wow.
and they
Limbe.
basically for 25 cents they'll give you a cup, and it's like a frozen fruit juice. My favorite is coconut.
Whoa.
Coconut is the best.
The Nutter Butter.
Yeah,
cookies, you
Nutter
said.
Butters are good.
The Girl
Also, a
Scout.
good bag of chips like Doritos, spicy Doritos goes down.
Can you say it with a British accent? Amazon.
I can say Amazon.
Oh,
That was way better than I imagined, actually.
So
This person's out there, he goes,
But right now they're
showing buffering for us.
Yeah, so that means that it's having a hard time getting that connection through the Wi-Fi. DJ said he thought it was his internet.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
Oh,
All right, we're back up.
I'm still
but the
buffering.
connection is still pretty bad. Like watching on X is still pretty.
Is it all Wi-Fi? Oh, see it now. Cool. Seems like we're back in. Thank you guys. Share your thoughts, snacks, go-to candies.
go to cookies.
Bear with us one moment. Thank you, DJ, for letting us know you can hear us. Pearl, thank you.
Oh, Brandon's
We are
watching. He just
fixing
texted
that right now.
me. He said, "Look up, look up." I'm looking at you, Brandon. We are. Listen, by the way, maybe this is a good time to talk about everything that goes into all of these
Sure.
different online, experiences. What I want to do is actually I want to take that camera off the tripod and give it a 360 zoom. So, because I don't think people would really
You
believe
could go for it.
the fact that we've been here testing this stuff since 11 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
And we literally we shut everything off to save it as it was. We can just turn it on and go. But of course not. It's
Yeah.
Oh, here he
It's a
goes.
little shaky.
Here he goes.
But this is a front end. Go ahead, Josh. Show them all what it looks like.
We got people running around back and forth. We got lights everywhere.
Yes.
Show them the makeup room.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and as you can see, I know might look like a little blurry right. It's a fun time. It's always a fun time. He's DJ says, I feel seasick. All the moving around. This is great.
I think we will stabilize.
Okay. Beautiful.
Emphasis on I think.
Okay.
I hope.
Yeah. So, along with some of the behind the scenes, Pastor Eliza, we always have fun with talking about our bloopers. Some of you may think, wow, these guys are amazing on camera, or they do such a great job with their online presence. However, just give us a snippet of what happens while videoing and the amount of editing that goes into these.
Yeah, so behind the scenes, we make it, on screen feels flawless, feels, whatever. Behind the scenes, I can't tell you how many times we're scrounging around for a battery, or we do a whole recording and find out the microphone was turned off, or focus at all.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man. And then there's the stuff that you have to cut out. Like, we're trying to do a devotional and bring in enough background information and context to really learn something from it.
Yeah.
But we're trying to do it in a matter of 6 to 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And so it's just impossible to do. So every time I record one, I'm like, dang it,
Yes.
it's 12 minutes long. And now I got to do it all over again.
No one wants to watch a devotional for 12 minutes. Let's be real.
No, nobody wants to watch me for 12 minutes.
Pastor Harold, what's a funny blooper?
Here, cameras are on, live action, and I'm in the middle of, in the early stage of my devotional. Unbeknownst to me, I won't call any names. So if you look back on one of my earlier devotionals, you'll see this large, handsome character just walks right in viewpoint of the camera, right in back of me, as I'm all intense, all in it, and
large, handsome, oblivious
yes
character.
And this particular person has his mug, his coffee mug, just oblivious. Yes,
And that's some coffee mug. There's like 4.5 gallons.
Yeah.
We're so sorry, guys. We're getting things ready. Bear with us a couple more moments. We apologize so much.
And
It's like it cleared up. It looks a little distorted, but that's because it's just the buffering issue. But hopefully you guys can still see us, and it'll clear up in a moment. But before, we want to make sure that all of this content and all of this stuff is ready. So Luke, tell us a fun little blooper on yours.
The month of March. The first blooper that comes to mind, and I won't call out any wives of mine by particular name, but as she was getting ready to do her first Devo, there was one that literally went, "Hey everybody, what's my biggest blooper?" I do recall one that I thought was great, but there was someone in the background walking through, and it was a reflection of. They weren't in the shot. Their reflection was in the shot, and I don't know if people have really seen.
Still buffering. I
wonder, is it
I know you guys are working hard.
because we're wired in to the network right now? It should be 0 waves. There should be nothing.
no, I wouldn't be that thing. That thing has nothing to do with. That's just a piece of hardware. It's a pass through.
Hey, DJ says we go. We'll until we get things ready. It's still buffering a little bit. We'll share a blooper, more of our blooper stories. Pastor Eliza, do you have a funny blooper story?
Yeah. I'm gonna imitate a blooper, and it's not mine. It's someone who it's pause. Okay.
I don't know. Okay, I know who you're talking about. You're talking about me, but I do not look like that. Let's just get this right, all right? Now, I would share it with you, but
He's talking, and it's pause.
whoa. Listen, I would share it with you, but the best person to explain what this looks like is our behind the scenes camera guy, Josh Credit. Come on over here.
Come on over here, Josh. Come on.
Special guest star. All right, he's gonna bring. I'm gonna tell you what my bloopers are. Okay. So and Josh is gonna do a great depiction of it.
Yes. So eventually, hopefully, when this whole COVID thing is over, we can put the bloopers out. I have tons of bloopers of Pastor Stephen here, who maybe is a regular. He can't get through his name sometimes, or there are times he can't even read the scripture that's in front of him.
Wow.
And it's like maybe I think I'm God honest truth.
I'm not illiterate, guys. I'm not illiterate.
God honest truth. There was a take where I counted maybe 12 takes on one intro. He was doing an intro for the weekend service. He done it many times before, weeks before. He was doing the intro.
I can do it live, no
problem. Same record. It was 12 takes, ladies and gentlemen. So hopefully at the end of COVID, I'll put like a blooper reel, highlight reel of all these guys. They mess up. The only person that does not mess up. And
We're not going to talk about that person.
No, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Only here's the thing.
I give nicknames.
Let's keep talking about 12 Take Steve.
Whoa.
Pastor Casey
Yes.
I call her one take Casey because she does it. She gets in, boom, does her job, gets out. She's great. She's great. There's only
Listen.
one time that she messed up.
Yo, DJ, you are absolutely right. The shade in this room is so heavy upon me. It's not even funny. Okay, let's not talk. Listen, let's not talk. Everybody else has just as many pauses and cuts and takes.
Cut that.
Listen,
No.
there's times where we got to put up the music on Pastor Eliza because he's just. We don't even want to hear him. We don't even want to hear him. All right?
Take 12.
Wow, you're getting kind of salty.
I'm out. All right.
Oh my goodness.
So listen, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes, whether it be with editing, some more than others, I will admit that. But it's just awesome, and it's so fun, and even just these little things of the tech stuff. That's what goes on with technology and getting things up and running. So we appreciate you guys. We love you guys, and thank you all so much for joining us. Everything seems to be pretty good up and running now, so I think we'll get on into it. Chat, let us know if you can hear us. Let us know if it's buffering. Let us know if it pauses for whatever reason. But we're gonna jump right on into this. For this week, we had some amazing devotionals on miracles, and these were essentially non-healing miracles. But for everyone watching, Pastor Eliza, can you tell us what are miracles? And for people who know or who don't know, that would be great to share.
So I think the best definition I can give you of what a miracle is, everything that happens in the world has obviously science behind it. Everything is natural. We use that kind of word to say what is natural in the world. It's just the things that we know. Gravity is natural. All kinds of stuff that are just scientifically proven. Well, a miracle is essentially when something supernatural kind of dives through all of the natural, and now all of a sudden something that doesn't make sense is the present reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and we believe that supernatural,
Experienced a real life miracle. Anything like that before? Pastor Eliza's shaking his head.
Yeah, so I could point to two really. I mean, one's both personal. When I was 13 years old, I was born with a disease that had tumors growing all through my body at a rapid rate. And from the time I was 1 to 12, I had 13 surgeries. So I spent a lot of time as a child in hospitals, either in surgeries or recovering from surgeries. That's how we came to the United States from Puerto Rico, is because of my medical condition. At 13 years old, between 12 and 13 is when I first walked into the church, through the doors of an evangelical church. And I know that from the time I gave my heart to Jesus, God healed me. 3 weeks later, they would find more tumors that had grown from the time that they had taken them out. So that was the kind of rate that they were growing in. From the time I gave my heart to Jesus, I've never had another tumor grow.
Wow.
Never.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I know that was God. I know that was a miracle. But then beyond that, when I was 15 years old, about to be 16, I was on a mission trip to Ecuador. And in this mission trip, we had this belief that God was going to do these great miraculous things. And in all of our services, we spent a good amount of time praying for the sick and seeing if God would indeed heal. And there were two men that I remember vividly. One who was completely deaf in both ears, and we prayed for him. And by the end of the night, he could hear. He could never hear before. And then there was one man who was blind in one eye, and we prayed for him. And at the end of the night, it was like a frenzy. Everyone was going nuts because they couldn't. I mean, it's not that they couldn't believe; they believed that, right? But everybody was just so impressed with God. To see this man who was blind in one eye, and now he could see out of both eyes. Yeah. And that was, I was present, and that was verified, and everyone knew the guy who was deaf, and everyone knew the guy who was blind in one eye was blind in one eye. But by the end of the night, both those men had been healed. And they were just two that I interacted with, two that that my ministry partner and I had prayed for.
That's awesome.
Beautiful.
That's awesome. Anybody else?
I mean, I can remember my dad was a missionary in West Africa many, many years ago, and my dad would come back with stories of the healing miracles that would happen. He was in West Africa, and he would be praying over individuals along with some other believers, and to have folks that were paralyzed, that couldn't walk, or had different sorts of ailments, and after, we ain't talking about a day later, but while they were praying, before service was over, healing occurred in their lives. So just to hear my dad come back with stories like that, and then only to have a witness that migrated to the U.S. where we were living, one of the pastors was able to collaborate those stories and says, oh my goodness, yes, we prayed and the healing occurred. And just to hear those stories and say, wow, it just didn't happen in the Bible days, it's still happening today.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. Pastor Luke, we kind of think of miracles as a healing thing, but what Jesus' first recorded miracle is turning water into wine, right? So it's not just a healing thing as well. Can you kind of explain some of that?
Yeah. So there's several places in the Bible that lists gifts, spiritual gifts. So one of them in particular in Corinthians talks about a list of gifts. There's 9 of them. It talks about healing and miracles, very clearly drawing a differentiation between the two. And I think what we commonly do is we just kind of lump it together as something exactly, thing like water into wine. It's a thing that happens that can't happen naturally, that is done by the hand of God. And it can a little bit seem like, well, are you splitting hairs here? Like, well, yeah, maybe a little bit, but they are actually different. And they're just categorized differently, where healing is one thing, which is basically our devos of a week ago, and then miracles, another thing, is the week that we've kind of looked at just past.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now,
Miracles are. Yeah.
how could you attest to that, or even through your own experience?
We talked about this earlier, that out in the West, in America, a lot of times we hear about it, but we kind of like with our natural eyes or our way of thinking and our ears, we say, well, that's got to be a coincidence, or that was because there was some kind of technical intervention, or maybe, well, there's something going on behind the scenes, whether a scam or, and so we hear these things on television of different things that have happened that had man's intervention to make it appear that it was a divine intervention. But if we look out in a lot of the third world countries, you talked about Ecuador, we talk about different parts of it's happening in America. It's happening in people's lives where they can say, you know what, there's no way man had anything to do. I pray it happened if God had his hands on it. Wow. So it happened today.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, Pastor Eliza?
Yeah, I agree with what Harold's saying, is because of, sometimes things that are televised or publicized, it actually hurts our faith to see when people have been manipulative, in certain arenas, something like that. And so as a result, it actually helped, it weakens our faith, it weakens our belief. And what we know for miracles to happen is the one thing that we need is faith. Contrastly, in other countries where, I'll say this as well, it isn't just things that we've seen on TV or things that we've heard that have been popularized, but it's also the fact that we have become so advanced that I believe a part of that also hurts our faith. I mean, we try to understand more of God, but the more of God we think we understand, the less we actually believe.
Right.
Isn't that incredible?
Right. Absolutely.
And so as a result, we have all this education, and Corinthians talks about this. It says knowledge puffs up, right? And sometimes we become so puffed up with knowledge that we lose in faith, but yet in James tells his audience, he says he's talking to poor people and rich people, and he's telling the rich people not to look down on the poor people, and he's telling the poor people He says, don't think of yourselves as poor because you are rich in faith. God has reserved faith for you. And so you see that actual thing happening in the world where in some countries that we would consider poor compared to America, they're rich in faith. And so you see these incredible miracles happening.
Yes.
And then we who are so sophisticated and so wealthy, we have a harder time with faith. And so we don't see the same amount of miracles happening.
Absolutely.
And then you get people who lose their faith altogether. And one of the things that they attribute that to is, oh, well, we talk about miracles, but they don't really happen. You see, so because they don't really happen, this whole God thing is fake. It's like, well, they don't happen in your life, and they don't happen in maybe the lives of people around you. But it doesn't mean that they don't happen. Right? They're happening all.
Societal, or maybe just a human nature thing where we want to understand stuff, right? We want to be able to explain things, and I think we feel more comfortable with anything the more we understand it, right? Like if I can explain why a ship heads out in the ocean and never comes back, well then I can okay, got some control. Now that I can put that in its box or its triangle, I can understand it and I can be good. And so we want to do that, I think, with everything, right? No matter what it is, if it's just the way that inequality and injustice works, the way that economics works, or the way that the supernatural God works, the way that creation happened. And the problem is there's a portion that we can't we have to come to. And I say that you have to recognize there's a step of faith between everything I understand, everything is understandable, everything that I think I could figure out, to, the concept of God requires him to be greater than me. Requires God to be bigger than me. And I have to actually own to the fact of I can't explain the why or the how or the why would God ever? I don't know. And that's a little bit the point.
Yes.
Right, that's why he's God.
Yeah.
And we've made a mistake by saying, I can't imagine why God would possibly do it that way, so there must not be a God. Yeah, exactly. You can't imagine, I can't imagine. I don't need a God who I can figure out. I can just be that God. Like, I'm good. I got it. I figured it out. I'll just be that God. What I need is a God who can still do something. And I know it when he's done it, right? Like I know what he's done in my life, and I've seen what he does in other lives, and that is the faith gap.
I thought about the words that Jesus used when he said to the disciples and also to us as believers. He says, greater works we shall do, greater works than he did, because he goes to the Father. And likewise, that now that not that we get the credit, but that he gets the credit, he gets the glory, but working through us as his agents, as his ambassadors.
And one of the greatest, like when he says that you'll do greater things, I think one of the things that makes it greater is the fact that he was God and we're humans. It's greater just because there is no doubt that we could not do it on our own.
That's right.
There's you could say Jesus, well, he was fully God, so he could do it. But it's kind of greater because it's him working through us.
Yes.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think science plays a big role in debunking a lot of the miracles today. I was doing some research. This was maybe a couple of years back with my previous pastor at another church, and we were talking about the Red Sea and how the parting of the Red Sea, science tried to basically throw all these different scenarios out there as to how the sea was able to be parted, but they could not agree that it was God, who parted the Red Sea. They said, it could have been this great wind that at the right time, at the right moment, the stars and planets were aligned, and it just parted the Red Seas. And at that moment, thousands and thousands, maybe millions of Israelites were able to go through this time. And then at the right moment, closed so that all the all the Egyptian armies were able to die. Or it wasn't as deep as people thought to be. So they were able to take their chariots and go, and then the big wind brought a big wave and crushed it. I mean, it happened, but then you run into these incredible miracles of a person who literally had full-blown cancer one day, the next day they did not have anything.
Yes.
Like, that is a full-blown miracle.
Yes.
And I don't care what anybody says, science can't explain what God just did there, you know?
Caveat I want to stick on that is, right, faith and science are not enemies. Jesus says truth over science truth. And I was like, no, you've misused the word truth here, because when it is true, it's true.
Yes.
And it's God's
Yes.
truth. So I am not at odds with science. I am not thinking that we are fighting on science.
I mean, everything that we're talking about in society is finite. I mean, it has a beginning and it has an end. And we want infinite God who has no beginning and no end to somehow work nice and neatly into our finite schedules, and our finite priorities.
Well, thank you all so much for your amazing answers. Chat, we apologize again for the buffering. We know that it continues to happen. You guys are so faithful. Thank you all so much. Before we do that, if we have a chance, let's pray before we head off, and hopefully it doesn't buffer during our prayer. Pastor Harold, would you mind closing?
We're reminded that this is the day that you have made, and that we have chosen to rejoice and to be glad in it. Even when there's technical, unforeseen circumstances, we still have to give you the praise and blessings on their lives, as well as our lives, as we keenly submit our lives and to your will. May you be glorified, and we give you praise. Amen.
Amen. Well, we love you guys. Take care. Promise we're working on this. We're working hard to give you the best content we can in everything we do. We love you all. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next week.
Bless everybody.